Hey guys, so a lot of you wanted me to talk about this. I didn't think it was that interesting, honestly, when I watched Richard's video and then Jasmine, his wife's video as well. I didn't think it was that interesting, but a ton of you apparently do, so here we go. I'll try to make this really, really short. So for those who don't know, this is about Richard and Jasmine, Vegan Gains. And Jasmine, their dog, they have a wolf dog, turns out to be this designer breed. I believe it's a Czechoslovakian wolf dog, highly sought after breed that they bought from a breeder. So that's the one issue. And then I guess the other issue is that they are also feeding the dog meat. So the two videos, as many people have noticed, are quite different. I don't think it's a case of necessarily lying or that they didn't get their stories straight. I think it's more of a case of one person is not very good at handling criticism and is trying to deflect, and the other person is very, very remorseful. I'm pretty sure you can guess which one's which, but just in case you can't, Jasmine comes across to me very, very remorseful and regretful and is just kind of laying everything out there. Whereas Vegan Gains' video, he is obviously very uncomfortable with the whole thing. I don't think he accepts criticism particularly well, and he is obviously trying to deflect, trying to take the heat off of himself and put it onto the breeder. To be clear, I think it was a really dick move, sharing the breeder's info like that, and because I mean, he has a huge platform. I think he has almost 300,000 subscribers, and sharing her information in that way, you know, calling her, he calls her a bitch, I know. I think he calls her some other things as well. Basically a horrible person. Framing someone in that way and then sharing their information like that, you're pretty much encouraging people to go and attack that person. I don't think that's okay. Yeah, again, I think this was just Richard trying to take the heat off of himself. Basically, they fucked up, and they know they fucked up. You know, Jasmine wanted a specific breed. She didn't want a rescue dog. She wanted a specific breed, even though she knew that it was unethical to go and buy this dog. And because she wanted this dog so badly, she justified the situation to herself, and she ignored, I think, obvious red flags. I think to anyone else, someone asking for that much money for a dog would have been an obvious red flag that this person is probably breeding these dogs. And I suspect part of the problem was that it seems like Jasmine knew this woman at least a little bit online and thought she was, you know, a nice person, and so there's no way that she would breed these animals for money, that she was just kind of, she had a litter just for the love of the breed, but she wasn't going to continue, you know, making more dogs. And maybe because she wasn't like an overt puppy mill, there is a difference, right? Not every breeder runs a puppy mill. There are people who breed pets and take really, really good care of them, but they're still breeders. So to me, this whole thing, it really reminds me of that video I did on Freely talking about lying versus delusion, in that case with regard to Ralta 4 and her weight gain and all of that stuff. In the end, I think Freely was just flat out lying, as I say in that video, but in this case, I think it's more of justification and rationalization to get the desired outcome, the outcome that Jasmine wanted. You know, she was able to justify herself that they weren't really buying the dog, that they were just paying for, you know, normal costs, for the cost of the crate, for the cost of the flight.
We did pay €1,000. We did have a sales contract. Luckily now in this situation, otherwise she would have just been, have to go back to Denmark. But, you know, we saw it as an adoption because we just paid for her costs. We covered them.
She was able to justify to herself shipping the poor thing in cargo, 24 hours in cargo. She was able to delude herself to the reality of the situation, seeing this woman as just someone who loved the breed rather than what she obviously was, a breeder. She was able to do all of this because she really, really wanted the dog. So what about Richard? Why did he agree to go along with this? Particularly since he says early on in his video that he smelled bullshit from the beginning regarding the breeder, that he thought she was a breeder. He was pretty convinced she was a breeder.
She said she wasn't a breeder. To me, it sounded like fucking horseshit. Right away, I knew this person was lying. She was in fact a breeder. We found out later.
Why did he agree to get the dog? I don't know, maybe he just wanted his wife to be happy. Maybe he just wanted to stop fighting about the issue. It sounds like they had a lot of fights about this whole thing. in the end, I think they were both deluding themselves. As far as feeding the dog meat,
Lucy is not on a vegan diet. She is now on a mixture of raw meat and dry kibble because that's the only thing that works for her right now.
I'm sympathetic. I have a 20-year-old cat who eats meat every single day. It sucks. It's why I will never adopt a carnivorous animal ever again. Of course, my situation is a bit different. I've had this cat since I was literally a child. I didn't knowingly buy a designer dog breed, one that is not your average domestic dog, knowing that there is a fair chance that the thing would have to eat meat. To be clear, many dogs do fine on vegan kibbles. There are commercial vegan kibbles available like Natural Balance, but not all dogs, and wolf dogs are certainly not your average domesticated dog. If you want more information on feeding pets, including cats, vegan, check out my video here. We all make mistakes, and it sounds like Richard and Jasmine are trying to make the best of the situation and doing the best they can to care for this dog. They tried a vegan diet for it and that didn't work, and so they are now feeding it meat. It's unfortunate, but that is the reality of the situation, and as Richard says in the video, they could give it away to someone else, but what would that really fix? If they don't feed it meat, someone else will. And I know there were some comments about Richard being verbally abusive and like throwing things at the wall. That's obviously very concerning, but he is going to therapy apparently, and from the footage he showed, the dog seems to be really happy, sitting in his lap, wagging his tail. So again, it seems like they are doing the best they can to make this a good home for the dog. The real problem with this situation, I think, is Richard's handling of it. Again, he seems very defensive in the video. He is doing everything he can to take the heat off of himself and put it on the breeder. Literally, all he has to do is say, yes, we bought from a breeder and now we feed it meat. We messed up, we fucked up, but this is the situation that we are in. We're doing the best that we can to take care of the dog and give it what it needs. We've learned from our mistake, and we will only adopt from now on.
I've definitely learned from this. I will make sure this never happens ever again.
Whether or not the breeder is lying about this or that, it really doesn't matter. And pointing the finger at her, at best, it just makes Richard look petulant. At worst, it makes him look like he's hiding something. I think if he had made an effort to come across more honest and remorseful instead of angry and defensive, I really think this whole thing would have died by now. I will say that it's interesting to me the amount of glee some people seem to be getting from this whole situation. And to be fair, Richard has kind of asked for it. The number of times he has been shitty to other people for eating animal products or making fun of their weight or even making fun of someone with cancer, the internet doesn't forget that shit. And, I don't believe in karma, but karma's a bitch. To be clear, I'm not excusing this kind of behavior, this reveling in someone else's misery. Richard and Jasmine's obviously upsetting situation. Two wrongs obviously don't make a right. I'm just saying it's not surprising. It's a real shame that Richard wasn't more open and less defensive in his video. I think this would have been a really great opportunity to connect with people, particularly non-vegans, in like a, hey, we all make mistakes kind of thing. And, even long-term vegans can make a mistake like this, something that you wouldn't normally think that someone who is vegan would do. We all are prone to bias. We're all prone to rationalizing things that we really, really want. For myself, I love cats. I love cats so much. And even though I know they are basically an invasive species, they have killed so many species of birds, for instance. They're pretty horrible. Actually, they're pretty horrible for the planet. I still love them. And it really saddens me that this cat is going to be my last cat, and I know that there's probably going to be a situation where I'm going to come across some kitty who needs a home and I'm gonna have to say no. It's gonna be really hard. My point is, no one is perfect and we can all do better, whether that's staying away from breeds and only adopting, or it's not finding joy in other people's misery. We can all do better. Unless it's finding joy in Mike Adams and his website Natural News being delisted on Google. That's totally acceptable. thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any comments or questions, of course, leave them down below. If you want to subscribe, you can subscribe, and I will have a new video very, very soon.